Good morning, and welcome to News Breaking News. With your host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo. April 4th, 2017. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in, whatever platform you found this on. This broadcasts live on Sprecher.com, which I think is German, a German-based podcasting company for, amateur podcasters trying to get discovered, like myself. And here we are. I did not do an April Fool's episode of any kind, and in fact, I've just been kind of on mini hiatus. In fact, for those of you those three listeners who are really paying attention and are noticing how often I do and do not post episodes, thanks for noticing. For the rest of you probably didn't notice. Whoever is probably, most of you listening to this are listening to this probably a bit down the road, much after the fact, because you've developed a taste for it and you're trying to catch up on all the backlog. At any rate, welcome to day 75 in Trumptopia, an epic, real-life clusterfuck journey into near apocalypse. No, I'm not that negative, but it has been quite the unexpected and just unimaginable ride. I wanted to do like a check-in day on Trump headlines. So in preparation, I went to Google on my computer and I typed in most trending Trump headlines. Now, generally speaking, my friends, I don't consider Google as qualifying for research. In large part because I'm used to research and I want to distinguish it by granting it a capital R as opposed to lowercase r in significance and in depth and intensity. I'm used to like academic research in a university setting and not that half-assed like frat brother style, get through it or pay someone else to do it kind of way. I mean like nerding out and doing months of deep book dives in a massive library because I was lucky enough to, go to a university with a pretty decent sized library. It was, at the time, in my youth, the largest library I had ever been in. But I digress. That's not really important. I don't usually advocate considering or calling or recognizing just typing in a phrase to Google as research. Okay? In large part because most of us type in phrases that already sort of reside within our own biases, our own leanings. A Republican's going to type a different set of words or phrases regarding Trump than, a hardcore anti-statist libertarian will or something. You know what I mean? The two folks, because of the way our media is splintered by design, most folks are kind of living in their own echo chamber ideologically. And I don't use that word lightly, as some of you more hardcore fans might know. Ideology. if I use the word ideology, I'm not usually using it in the same way the typical newscaster is using it, because I sort of have a bigger picture idea about ideology, which is funny because, well, it's just self-referential there. But I digress. So, regardless of whether or not I'm not trying to say I disrespect Google as a place, as a starting point. I just don't usually, I would never call it research. But in quote-unquote researching my episode today, I typed into Google most trending Trump headlines, and I thought I'd give these a rundown. The very, very first one, which I didn't notice right away, but I see very clearly now looking back, or looking at it again, is a paid-for advertisement. But I'm actually very drawn to click on it because I don't know what the acronym of this organization is, or who they are. Donald Trump, latest, U.S. President Donald Trump, lfda.org. Learn more about him at lfda.org. Now, and it's a paid advertisement, so it's the first thing on Google. So we're going to right-click, open that in a new tab, and not go there just yet. I know. Little mind tease. The second one, is also an ad. Trump Watch. Keeping an eye on his policies at nrdc.org. Stay up to date on all his latest environmental actions from the administration. Donate. Safeguard the Earth. Act now. Okay, at least with this one, we can kind of generally see that there might be a pro-Earth, anti-Trump bias there, which is interesting. I'm curious to compare and contrast these two tabs. Now, I promise you, dear audience, dear listeners, I respect you so much that I'm being very, very factually honest with you. I had typed in the phrase into the Google just moments before I launched Sprecher.com to do my little recording session. Oh, by the way, if any like hating it inclined individuals listening to this and eagerly looking for ways to find excuses to be angry at me and then try to troll me and spew hate speech at me, just because I use Sprecher.com and it's German doesn't mean I'm some kind of Nazi or German person or foreigner or from Europe. It's a website, for crying out loud, and I don't know where it originates from actually, but the word Sprecher sounds German to me, so I speculate. It might be a good old US of A country that decided to use the German word for speaker. So don't go jumping to any conclusions just because I'm on that platform. I'm also on YouTube, and on what's that blog? On Blogger. I'm on Blogger, and I'm thinking of trying to port my podcast over into Wattpad because I have a whole separate audience there that's reading my fiction that I write, which is very severely on pause right now. But there's a couple hundred folks over there that are followers of mine that might appreciate these recordings that probably don't know I'm doing it. At any rate, I backtrack. So we live in an era, this post-factual era, where the internet at large, and apparently Google's and Yahoo search, are where the vast majority of the world garners their opinion. So I'm deeply intrigued by this. And then by this new hypersensitivity to websites from foreign countries that are, being used as media platforms in America because of this whole Russia ruse of fake news scandal. But we're going to see what we can find out about these sites. And the part where I was telling you that I'm being really honest with you is that I haven't set this up. There was no pre-show on this other than typing in that phrase. So if we find something amazing or you find something boring, don't hold it against me. And if you are listening, God forbid, and you own any of these websites I'm about to talk about, don't get so offended that you try to sue me or something. This is free speech. And I'm trying to be funny. So grow a set. Or actually, in honor of the grand dame Betty White, like grow a nice vagina and take it like a strong woman. because I'm not doing any of this in hate. I'm just very amorous in my comedy. That's probably a really such a obscure reference gag that I don't think anyone's going to giggle at that. But I return to the thing we're doing here. So the first 3 links on Google are paid advertising. Now, I usually totally ignore that when I look something up on Google, which if I may say, my friends, if I may encourage you, that is the preferred nomenclature for a Google search. You're looking something up in your own words. So what you find may or may not have anything to do with any kind of valid, factual, evidentiary support for whatever argument you may be trying to prove. And at this time, I'm not trying to prove anything about Donald Trump. I'm just curious what comes up. So, all right, the first not paid advertising that is not, the first link that is not labeled an ad with a little green boxy ad box is reads the following: Donald Trump, latest news, top stories, and analysis from Politico. If I know my political scene, if I know my current ideological scene, people further on the right, which it's very unlikely that anyone extremely from the right is listening to this unless they happen to drop into it in the middle and don't know what it's about. People from the right are probably going to be very dubious and negative about any sourced thing out of Politico, because it's generally, I think, been kind of tough on Trump, and it sort of loves to claim to be really rigorous about fact-checking, which is anathema to the really hardcore Trump fans. And I don't say that to insult them. It's what they've been conditioned to do. We have to stop arguing with them and start healing them. But I digress from that line of thinking for a minute. I've already done a whole episode on that. Okay, so we'll read the Politico page in just a second. The second link under the 3 paid advertisings reads, here are 95 actual news headlines we've published about Donald Trump. And it's from theweek.com. Posted June 16, 2016. So it's not even like it's from not. Oh, interesting. Okay, there's enough of a tease there that I'm going to really want to read that one. Okay, The Independent Co. UK topic Donald Trump. So The Independent in England, in the UK. I don't know anything about them. I don't know if they're a middle of the road newspaper, if they're a big newspaper, a small newspaper, or whatever you want to call it, media outlet. I don't think I'm going to click on that one. No disrespect to our brothers and sisters in the Great British Kingdom. I just don't want to get distracted by, at this point, for this particular exploration, a news, a foreign country's point of view on it, because it's going to just muddy the waters, I think. But I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, they just see things way differently than people in America see things, and I'm kind of sort of focused on that right now. But maybe I might totally change my mind about that. Okay, top 23, the next link is top 23 most bizarre, funny, or insane Trump news headlines. And that's definitely one we want to take a look at. I guess we might as well open the Independent in case I don't remember now if I clicked on that. Okay, so my tabs are opening up. Breaking political news. The next headline. Headlines and opinion. Fox News. Okay. I'm really intrigued that Fox News is not at the very top of this Google search. I'm fascinated that Fox News is not a paid advertiser on this Google search for anything Trump related. But we're going to bust open the Fox News tab in a hot second. Okay, The next one is from K93 Orlando, which I suspect is a radio station that has a website that does news. You may want to look at that, but I want to just kind of read off the rest of the list of the first page. Donald Trump headlines from K93 Orlando. Donald Trump trending topics, Christian headlines. That one I can't refuse to open and comment on. It's gonna be really lovely, I'm sure. All those Donald Trump headlines are distracting you from the, and it cuts off. It just ... And that's from thenation.com. I've heard of The Nation, but I don't remember where they are situated. So we're going to check them out. Trending on BuzzFeed. Sorry, BuzzFeed. No disrespect. I don't care. BuzzFeed, like Twitter, shouldn't be news. It should be something people go and read. But it shouldn't be news. I don't consider my shows news. I'm like commentary. I'm a not very funny comedian that's just got an attitude and an opinion and a rant to rant. Okay, here we go. This is exciting because that was page 1 out of 5,390 results for most trending Trump headlines. The next thing I want to look up is just President Donald Trump and see what kind of things come up. Apparently I can't type and talk at the same time. I just put in President Donald Trump. Paid ad, Trump a legitimate president? ? Do you think Trump is ? Hypeline.org. Second paid advertisement link. President Trump on energy, here's what he did. And that's from AmericanActionForum.org. Now, they seem like they're trying to sound real legit, like they're giving you the real skinny. So I want to find out what they're actually peddling. Donald Trump, presidential polls, ballotpedia.org. I'm not interested in polling information at this time, but that's interesting that it's there. It's paid advertising. Paid advertising, Donald Trump president, LFDA.org. Okay, cool. That's interesting that's there. And then, of course, the obligatory, Newsweek, 1 hour ago. There's like a break and a horizontal with pictures. Newsweek, 1 hour ago. President Donald Trump just signed off on killing internet privacy protections. Published by Newsweek. And that's being listed as an hour ago. CNN.com. Trump prepares for critical week of diplomacy. I keep hearing all these Donald Trump supporters saying that CNN is so biased against Trump. I watch CNN amongst the roulette wheel of all the other network media outlets that I can get on my piece of crap satellite system, which for some reason mysteriously yanked cable Fox. I used to have Fox channels, and then they yanked them. I didn't ask them to yank them. I didn't change the package, and I was watching it. Or trying to. It is the most annoying and egregiously, corrupt, in my opinion. If you didn't realize that and you just got offended, I am so sorry. But if you're getting all your information from Fox News, you're really missing out on just actual information. Never mind that most of the content you're listening is more like my show, which is commentary on the news. And you're being lied to and not informed correctly, and that they're presenting opinion pieces as if it were facts, way too hardcoredly. So that most people who aren't media savvy, journalism savvy, they're going to not understand the difference, and they're going to think this is what the news is. Okay, the next one on that little break, that bar break of Trump stories is Trump administration floats compromise on healthcare. That's from NBC News. I'm not going to click on any of those because those are really mainstream media. And my fans, some of my Facebook followers are often a bit flummoxed because I generally agree with the statement that mainstream media is less than reliable. I don't think that it's churning out 100% fake, like, propaganda the way we're told they do in North Korea, but it's not impossible. I don't know. I'm not a jet setter. I can't go to Washington and attend the rallies or lobby the politicians myself. Which, by the way, folks, kudos and applause for all the rallies and the demonstrations and the thing I have been praying for. Not to say that it's I'm not trying to take credit. I have been hopeful and praying and contributing my 2 bits in this direction, because I feel that was what was lacking, in the previous decade and the previous sort of round of political craziness, or decades. And that's taking the rallies and the protests and the marches to the next logical level, which is you've shown the big brute force, then you switch to nuance and precision, which is what I'm really impressed by it right now, actually. One of the things I've taken the time, why I took the hiatus, was to not be too caught up in the daily routine of having some ramble or rant about the latest crazy thing that Trump has said or tweeted, because I wanted to step back and get a clear picture of as best as I can, given what media outlets I have access to, and talking to actual people on social media that are closer to the action than I am. Like I was trying to do a little bit with Standing Rock, which was, I was making sure that I was checking in with groups, just reading what they were posting, people who could verify by GPS and all that they were actually there, in contrast to just accepting whatever the status quo might be coming from your primary top tier. Because to be frank, there was a lot of underreporting that story. They do that all the time. But let me get back to my main third line. I didn't want to get sidetracked on this. But huzzah and kudos and congratulations to the new energy, the new organization of precision, of showing up to town halls, and bringing that pressure to the reps, whoever they are, whether they're Congress or senators, or your mayors and governors, when they're actually in the public space of the people who put them into power. When I first got political with meme making, and it's not that I've been doing this a long time, there's plenty of people out there who've been doing it a lot longer than I have, but one of the first things that hit me was like, people forget that we can fire them from their jobs. Either when elections come around by voting them out, or by literally organizing and creating civic action on their job position. Because it is by the people, for the people. And the bit that's not happening very well or healthily is of the people. Instead of electing people from well-organized and deeply established grassroots networks that are non-financially corrupted, and getting them into political office, vis-a-vis some public finance platform of running the election process, and instead of relying on this multi-million-dollar industry that's sprung up around elections, that's really about peddling influence and peddling access and peddling media and peddling opinion polls and all that stuff. So yeah, kudos, America. High five to all of you who didn't just go home frustrated after the marches and then didn't proceed to do nothing. Except for bitch and moan and yell at the TV. And that's not an indictment of those who did do nothing, because this shit is hard, and they don't teach us how to do it in school. Did you notice that? So anybody above a certain age will have some recollection that there used to be a stronger emphasis on civics and what our civic duties were in our education curriculum. You go looking today for like an actual proper U.S. civics course or U.S. civics book, and you're getting mishmash or the complete lack of it. Mishigas. I call shenanigans. So, kudos. Let's continue to step it up a notch. And I know that no one's listening to me in doing this. I'm just recognizing and affirming and sharing for those who maybe didn't realize that was a thing or just hadn't thought about this little facet of the whole complicated clusterfuck of a mess that we're in. But yeah, we need to continue. Like, there's a lot of anti-political folks out there that are, just forget about it. Just don't vote. Don't engage. The House of Cards will collapse. And while that logic sounds lovely and plausible, it also leaves room for dictatorship and tyranny to just go, oh, okay, you don't want to play? Well, then we'll just take the power by force and subjugate you by force, because that you can't avoid. Okay, now I'm not accusing anybody of preparing to do that just yet. I haven't seen enough to know. But I'm already intrigued by the fact that, not in an overbearing, like being unfair to him way, but in a truly like personally shocked and a little bit not paranoid, but fearful. And maybe yes, paranoid. Not in the dismissive way, but just like really, really, really worried because it seems so obvious kind of way. But second guessing yourself. That many of the actual legislative or policy actions that Trump and his team are taking are, and it's funny because America has, ever since the war, has this wonderful habit of calling the next American president the next Hitler. In my lifetime, I've heard every president of the United States be called the next Hitler that's been in office. I'm not kidding. There's a certain, there's always a subset of the population that's ready to hate whoever's in charge. And maybe, just maybe, that's not an accident. Maybe, just maybe, that's, not something that should be dismissed either. Okay. Let's get back to these tabs we opened. Oh, right. To finish my point, there are so many more levels of involvement and participation. And if I may humbly suggest, for anyone out there that is involved in grassroots work, if you and your local community grassroots movement isn't recruiting, get on it. And if you are recruiting and finding very little success, then seek out the coaching you might need to like fix whatever you're not doing right, or in the most appealing way. Because right now, if the resistance to what Trump and his agenda is, if the resistance is going to succeed, it can't be as disorganized and what's the right word when you can't give direction? There's a purpose and a reason to being able to organize and having people in leadership positions. You can't be so anarchistic as to say, well, just don't ever have leaders, because somebody's got to step up and go, okay, this is what we're going to do. Some of us we've listened to everyone, and here's what the group of us that have been asked to lead think. But it should be more of a healthy engagement process, not a top-down dictatorship. Okay, so there's many more levels, but recruiting, the resistance needs to start recruiting, and needs to start getting disaffected voters back into the political process. And people, the next round of young folks that are not quite ready to vote but will be able to vote, that work doesn't start 3 weeks before an election. That work starts now. I know there's a lot of you out there that are friends with me on Facebook that are like, but government doesn't work. It's all a false illusion of, yes, I know, you're right. It's a completely rigged, scammy, corrupt thing. Government always is. You're preaching to the choir. What I am saying is the procedure, we've got a halfway decently laid out system here if we hold it accountable to itself. The reason the oppressors have gotten away with what they've gotten away with here in the United States is because they gave us all the right pomp and circumstance, the right fluff, all the right things to feel, pride and a sense of accomplishment that we've achieved some shining city on a hill of peace and love and brotherly love. As I think more than one city in America is got some sort of, tagline or moniker about. And yet here we are in the clusterfuck of Trumptopia wondering what the hell happened. We need to organize more. And I know plenty of you out there organizing in ways that are deep and profound and powerful, and I don't disagree with you. But we need to recruit, and we need to cross issue recruit or cross group recruit. We need to merge. We can't creating a third political party or creating a new small political party that goes into the third party category is not the solution. Completely influxing, just immersing, submerging, flooding the two ruling parties now, the Republicans and the Democrats, with people that represent us every day, and that are not bullshitting us about it, and that represent us not in some fractional, I represent Texas and the Texas mindset. I represent, all the... Because that's what they do. They divide America up into mindsets that then dislike other Americans. This is supposed to be... And I've said it before. I'll say it again. This is supposed to be the United States of America. And they're always creating culture so that even people from between state to state choose to dislike each other just based on the social indoctrination of the culture in that state. Never mind their politics. But we live in a really big country with 50 countries in it, essentially. And they really got their divide and conquer, us versus them indoctrination tactics on lockdown, folks. And the blessing, the mixed blessing of what Trump is in our system. I was thinking about this earlier as I was getting inspired to get on the air today. And I've got 11 minutes left. Cool. And that's this. Trump sort of made me realize, or has reminded me, that he's sort of he reminds me of what happens in The Wizard of Oz right at the end. And one of the lines, the classic line, "Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain." Except Trump's not the guy behind the curtain. Trump's the big, giant, overinflated hologram of a face puppet head that is up on the stage in the throne with the flames and the fire and the special effects. That's what Trump is. And the man behind the curtain, I don't know. Is it Breitbart Newsman? I can't remember his name right now. Because is it not Manafort? Is it Manafort? Is it Putin? Who knows? If politics is politics the way I think it's politics, it's all of them, because it's part of a long, complicated chain of psyop and contra psyop, fuck them 4 ways from Sunday kind of mindfuckery. And there's a hierarchy to it that goes up deep into shadowy place that we don't know. And people are probably screaming, "It's the Rothschilds and the Bilderbergs!" And I'm like, if you know their names, they're probably not the ones actually in charge. Because the ones actually in charge would be so much crazier rich than them that they would be able to be completely unknown. And they would do that because power always does that. They would put someone in the public view to be the distractionary, red herring, puppet lure. Get angry at these guys so that you're always distracted, and it never really is what it seems. Because, oppression works that way. Okay, well, we've still got 9 minutes. We're going to run through these tabs. Okay. LFDA.org turns out to be... it's a very busy home screen. The landing, which I would fire this web designer, but then again, I'm really particular about web design, and I'm not millennial about it. And that doesn't mean that I'm old or anything, but I am, of course. But this is really hard to read. Like, it's kind of distracting how... Well, this is also sort of like a subject page at lfda.org, and it doesn't tell me about lfda.org itself. I have to open a second page on a little link that took me forever to find, which is ironically like the navigation link. Oh, it's just that it wiggles around and moves. And I was like, I usually ignore those things because it's usually not useful. Anyways, Trump Watch at nrdc.org. What is that the national? What is nrdc.org? About Us. NRDC. Okay, what is the first one? The LFDA.org. I still can't. I don't know what it is. There's a bunch of things. Okay, here's what it reads like. The very top left. Thank you to our sponsors. Learn about our sponsors, which are Waste Management Corporation, Lint, R.J. Finley & Co. I've never seen a corporation with my first name on it, R.J. Yes, because the incorrigible Mr. Zeppel has a real everyday name identity, and I just gave it away for the first time on the show, which is horrible of me. But anybody who knows me on social media knows what it is, because it's silly. Wheelaborator Technologies, whatever that is, and then Waste Management again, which is funny that it's got 2 pictures. They must have given this website a lot of money. Stony Field Organic and R.J. Finley & Co. That must be... See, I would totally fire this web designer. Now what... Okay, Citizens Count NH. Live Free or Die Alliance. Oh, this is the Live Free or Die Alliance. New Hampshire is probably where it's from. Understand the issues. Search issues. Browse issues by category. Suggest an issue. How we develop issues. Citizen voice learn. Interesting. Know your elected officials. Now these guys got that. That's going on. Now what we need is more people out there, even the angry non-voters, to engage in the pressure and the demonstrating and the like demanding that they be held accountable. Even if you've never voted before, you can hold them accountable because they are oppressing you as hard as anybody who voted. Okay, so Live Free or Die Alliance. That's interesting. I'm obviously mildly familiar with Live Free or Die, and I knew it was New Hampshire. I didn't try to guess some other thing with NH. But I don't really know... Oh, so it is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I don't really know where to peg them on an ideological, quadrant map. I don't know. But if a fan wants to tell me all about them, by all means, I'll do more research than that. NRDC. See, now they needed a statement like this. The Live Free or Die folks didn't have this on their website. And thank God NRDC did. Just because now we'll know more clearly where they stand. NRDC works to safeguard the earth, its people, its plants and animals, and the natural systems on which all of life depends. I think it's amazing, A, that there needs to be such organizations to defend life itself and that which sustains life from. And what are they defending life from? Us, ourselves as a species, and our choices, what kind of productivity we're going to pursue. And to reference Ansel Adams, it's amazing that we have to fight our own government to protect the natural splendor of our own country. But we do. So, okay. It is... Now, obviously, this site's going to get dismissed by any right-wingers out there to hate, because they're really going to hate the following statement. We combine the power of more than 2 million members and online activists with the expertise of some 500 scientists, lawyers, and policy advocates across the globe to ensure the rights of all people to the air and the water and the wild. Now, this is a group I can genuinely, politically, and ideologically, I think, unless they're full of shit and they're some kind of scam, just based on those two sentences, I can support them. The live free or die folks, I'm like, all I know is that you're from New Hampshire and you love guns, because live free or die stickers are always right there with the peacemaker stickers, which is another deep irony about Christian America. Christian America does not understand that Jesus Christ was a pacifist and a meditator who probably studied yoga and was trying to help us wake up to how to end violence on earth. And now Christians love to strap on their guns and go be warriors for Jesus and kill other people in Christ's name. And that's not just the radicals, folks. That's like a really wide stripe of the middle of the bell curve of Christians in America. Just look at the survey data. I don't have any links to this, but I'm pretty sure John Oliver did a great segment on this, in fact. And I've seen other polling data from not very recently, not having anything to do with Trump, but that Christian Americans, their two favorite things, their two favorite objects is their Bible and their gun. Or guns, and that they generally tend to keep them closely together. And I've heard the Christian argument for guns and self-defense, but what they don't understand is that, Jesus didn't have a ban. Jesus didn't ban his followers owning swords, but he did tell them to melt them down and turn them into plowshares, which is really significant. He also told them to shut the fuck up, meditate, and open their third eye. And that's in the Bible. I mean, obviously not in the gross colloquial phrasing I just used, but it's in the Bible. Jesus speaks of meditation. It's just been oppressed so hard that and fucked with, edited so badly that it doesn't read that strong, that overtly anymore. Or to a modern reader. Okay, let's look at the Politico page. Today in Trump World, April 3rd. Apparently they have an article covering Trump's... Oh shit, but I'm totally out of time. So we're just going to do this. Oh, where's the... Gosh darn it. There we go. Thanks for listening. I'm going to have to make this a two-parter. So I'm going to take a little break. And we're going to pick up with the Politico article. And then we're going to get to that one that was like the 98 most weird articles. I really want to just get a broad spectrum feel. And then talk about my theory, which I've talked about before, but I've updated it. That's why I keep checking in and updating what my theory, my working theory is about Trump and his team. So tune back in for part 2 in just a bit.